Spankula and the freaking Candy Pirate and all this other stuff. But when you get to the family element, it really didn't play on that much until the movie. And at the movie, uh, Nigel, who's number one, the guy red shirt and glasses, he finds out that his father was actually the very first K&D agent.
Oh.
And he goes through, and his father was basically the legend, and the legend came to life to defeat the big baddie, who was grandfather, who was basically reverting the world back to like 1800 style. And the one thing that I did like about that is he sacrificed his memories again, and to defeat grandfather. And when everyone was saved and the universe was like, yeah, we're all here, everyone's fine. Nigel was going to use the device that brought him back to bring it back again, but his father intentionally destroyed it with a message that said, basically said, hey, look, my mission's done. My fight's over, but my greatest mission is to be your father. And that's what I'm going to do. And I thought that was very nice, because the legend came to life to be evil, but instead of continuing to live on, he gave it up so he can raise his son. It was a nice little element. I know that was kind of off balance, but since we were talking about the family element from Gravity Falls, I wanted to bring that up. Now, here's a good question. Mm-hmm. Now, I know you liked this show, Avatar, Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first series, as most of us know now, it was held back a lot because the creator wanted to do more, like show a lot more bending and powers and such, but Nickelodeon, being Nickelodeon, said, you can't have that. But we see what Avatar was, and then we see Korra.
Yeah, and for one, I've watched probably 2 episodes of Korra.
You're not missing much,
okay.
But the funny...
see, I hear a lot about Korra is good, Korra is bad, Korra is better than the original series. I mean, I don't buy that, but I mean, the ones that I've watched, there have been things in it that I've liked.
It's definitely a more steampunk meets Avatar style.
I like steampunk.
But what's funny is there's a male protagonist. I forget his name, but he's a firebender, but he's also a lightning bender. But anyway, he had a thing with Korra.
Uh-huh.
They were dating for a while, but then basically the engineer chick, I can't remember their names, but there's this engineer chick who was very good with technology. He left Korra and went for her, and then he ended up breaking up with her and doing some bad stuff. He destroyed them both emotionally so far that they fell in love with each other and then became a couple, all because he was that bad of a guy.
I'm not going to get into details or name names, but I actually known something like that to happen. I mean, sometimes it happens. I mean, that's pretty real life, I guess.
For those who don't know, Avatar is being continued.
Is it?
Aang Avatar.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
But it's only in books. Now there's 4 of them out, and unfortunately, they're very expensive. But it's a big book, about this big and about yay thick. And I've read 3 out of the 4. It's the first one is called The Promise, and then it's The Search and The Rift. Very good reads.
It's in between.
It's in
between
the
end of the show and the beginning of Korra.
Yes.
Why don't they animate that? I would watch that.
Because Nickelodeon. Alright? That's my only excuse I have, is because Nickelodeon.
I mean, it works for a lot of things. I mean,
It does. And... But basically, in a nutshell, is The Promise is basically about the after effect of the war. Zuko, he is the Fire Lord, and he's trying to draw the Fire Nation back, but there's actually villages within the Earth Kingdom that's benefited because there is a cohesive balance between Earthbenders and Firebenders on the conquered villages. So basically, it kind of goes into the shenanigan where the Earth Kingdom wants the Fire Nation out, but the Fire Nation is like, wait, these they're prospering. You know, they're actually doing good.
Mm-hmm.
And Aang, you know, had to step in, find out what happened. Now the search is about Zuko's mother.
Oh.
You find out what happened to Zuko's mother. Because
Jeez.
one thing that pissed me off with Korra,
I almost don't want you to tell me that.
I won't tell you.
Okay.
All right, as I said, just
I might go buy that book.
Yeah, just go to Barnes and Noble or something. It's called The Search.
That was just the number one.
Yeah, and it never got answered. Even when Korra came out, you know, one of Korra's or one of I can't remember, Aang's granddaughters. You know, they asked what was her name? Katara, the waterbender girl.
Yeah,
Katara. Okay, I want to make sure I was right before I said. But they asked her, you know, what happened, and she was like, "Oh, that's a very interesting story. Let me tell you to you." And then she got interrupted, and you don't want to know what happened. And it's just like, why are you honeydicking this, man? But yeah, the search is about Zuko's mother. You find out what happened to her and what she did. The rift is more about the gods or the spirit gods basically leaving the human world completely, and then and the other story is Toph starts her metal bending academy. And I said there is a fourth book. I can't remember its name. Haven't read it, but if you are an Avatar fan and you don't know these books exist, check them out.
Yeah, I'm glad I knew they exist, because I will at least
get the search.
Yeah, because that was the worst. It's like, it was such a nice happy ending, and
well, what's funny is not everyone got a happy ending too.
Yeah.
Now here's
that's like, I mean, that's what I like about Avatar. It's a whole lot of, well, that's life. I mean, you know, there's good stuff and there's bad stuff, but it's all, I mean, in the context of the show, it's realistic. Like, it's emotionally real.
And then you get into shows like Hey Arnold, which was literally just like a school life anime, just American version.
Yeah, see, I never really watched Hey Arnold.
Different time frame, but don't worry, I didn't watch it either. Hell, you think back to a lot of the Cartoon Network shows, Samurai Jack especially. I personally think the series, it was good that they gave that series a closing. I didn't like how it ended because I'm a sucker for happy endings, but at the same time it was like, Jack, tears. But then you get into the second generation of cartoons, which was Chowder and Flapjack and whatever.
The second generation.
Okay, second generation of Cartoon Network cartoons. How about that?
I was gonna say, very little. I mean, even as far as Cartoon Network, but whatever. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Flapjack, Chowder. The only really good things about those shows was, a lot of the creators for the next wave of shows came out of Chowder and Flapjack.
Yeah, but you look at. I understand those shows were about just shenanigans.
Well, there's a lot of experimentation. You know, like, a lot of it too, I think, was trying to capture the popularity of shows like SpongeBob, for example. I mean, Flapjack, I mean, look, is nautically themed. You got a lot of similarities in character designs. I mean, they could totally be the human version of a lot of fish from Bikini Bottom.
This is true.
And
you even have the whale.
Complete, randomness, and you got a whale. I could go on, make a whole video about how Flapjack is just trying to capture SpongeBob fans without actually breaking any copyright rules.
There you go.
And I'm sure that's not like the entire objective of it. I'm sure the people that worked on it most of them weren't consciously like, I'm just gonna rip off SpongeBob. But I'm sure there's a lot of, if I was writing a SpongeBob episode, these are the jokes I would put in it.
Maybe it's because we've both grown older. You know, when I was a kid, I would watch 4Kids on Fox, which had the animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, had Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and all that other stuff. But it just, when I look back at like Teen Titans, for example, you know, we got to see the characters grow. We got to see them go through challenges, work together, become stronger together as a team and as a family. But and then you look at Teen Titans Go, and it's just poop humor.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand now. One thing that does have to be said is children today obviously is not like children from we were kids.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
What? Okay, and let me reiterate.
Um,
Technology has changed a lot of stuff.
yeah, but I'll elaborate on that in a way that you're probably not thinking of. But I'll let you finish your point.
Well,
But I'm just putting a pin in that idea.
what I'm saying is technology has changed the world. Some for the greater, because, you know, we can put a VR and see anime titties everywhere. And then other technologies is like phones that are only good when they actually work. But it's just, I look at my girls and Vinny, and, you know, they like toys. They still go out and play. They would prefer to go out and play, or play with like Legos or something. But then I see some other kids from other couples that I know, and their kids are just on a phone, on a tablet, something like that. And I just feel that because of that cultural shift almost between technologies, just more kids are more interested in the electronic devices than they are reading a comic book or getting an action figure or something like that. Because regardless, going back to comics for a minute, the comic book industry's down.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's you cannot deny that it's just not. It's not selling. It's not what it used to be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's pretty well known that like numbers wise, they're not selling anything close.
No.
You know, they can say that they're selling more or making more money, and it's because they charge you like $5 by flipping.
Oh my
comic
god,
book.
yeah. Like here's another good example about just how the industry has changed. I'll use Warhammer as an example because I'm a Warhammer.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when a pack of 10 Imperial Guardsmen was like $18. Now they're almost 30.
Yeah, because that's what's keeping comic book shops afloat. It's
Yeah,
stuff like
Warhammer
that.
stuff.
It's
Which is true.
Not comic book stuff. It's like, you know.
Well, look, when you go to, we got 2 local game stores. We have, I don't want to say the names on the video, but we got the one in Blacksburg and we got the one here in Radford. And, you know, if you go and talk to both the owners, they will both tell you that they had to reduce a lot of their comic book merchandise because it's not selling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, the one in Blacksburg has the college, so it gets a little bit more flow. While, let's face it, Radford University isn't really.
Those are not comic book kids.
Yeah, they're not. But going off point, that's what I just wanted to say. Is just it seems like kids nowadays they're more focused on the electronical part of things compared to the physical part of things like comics, toys, board games.
Even when I was a kid, I mean, you had, you know, Nintendo.
Don't get me wrong.
Super Nintendo, Sega,
Game Boy Color, man.
Yeah, Game Boys. There's plenty of electronic devices like 30 years ago. You know, it's just a matter of there's always been kids that want to go outside and play and expand their imagination that way. I was that way when I was a kid. I would just like, you know, wander around my yard and hit stuff with sticks, basically. You know, and like watching my daughter. My daughter has a cell phone.
At 7?
Yes, she has to have one because she does have type 1 diabetes. And
Okay.
her cell phone works with her insulin pump and her glucose to tell me, like, I could look on my phone right now and see what her blood sugar is. If it was really high or really low, my phone would be going off right now.
You'd be running out the door.
I mean, highs are something that you just kind of learn to deal with, you know. But anyway, she has a phone, you know, and she does watch a lot of YouTube kids on her phone, and she knows how to play video games. She plays Minecraft like all the time.
That's a good one though. That
I
does
mean,
expand
Minecraft is,
creativity.
I'm glad there's games like Minecraft available because it's a more creative game than a destructive
Or my
game.
personal favorite, Mario Maker.
Yeah, see,
'Cause
we
who
don't have
didn't
that
wanna
because
make
then we'd have to buy like a Nintendo system. But
Just get a Wii. They're cheap now.
we have a Wii U actually, but
Well, that's what I meant.
we never. I can't remember the last time we actually turned it on.
Same.
But anyway, she still likes to go outside and play, or go to the pool, or go to the park, or get around. She has like every form of electronic entertainment available to her, but if she has a chance to go outside and play with somebody,
True.
that's really kind of the key. Is like if you can get two kids to want to play with each other, they'll go outside and play.
I agree with that because when the girls are together, they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
While Kira's at summer school, Morgan is usually doing something by herself, which is usually watching a show on something. And it's part of the other reason why when Ashton's over here, I like to try to bring him over to the other kids so, he can interact. Because, look, I was a lonely child, but
Mm-hmm.
I was an only child for a long time. And though my brother was born, he was still a baby, so I really couldn't play with him. And let me tell you, only children suck sometimes.
Well, see, like I was a twin, and honestly, a lot of the reason I spent so much time outside was to get away from my sister. Like we just didn't get along, and I never understood why. It's like she just
You didn't
was
have
just bored, not liking me.
you didn't have weird little pat twin hugs.
No. No.
Didn't have that Gravity Falls relationship.
I mean, we got along sometimes, I guess. But anyway, getting back to what I had kind of thought of when you brought up.
Yeah, bring it
technology.
on. Let's see what we got.
It occurs to me that a lot of the reasons so many American-produced shows are this kind of CalArts goofy focus on comedy, 15-minute short styles, other than cost effectiveness, because definitely cost effectiveness.
Yeah.
But animation quality, style, whatever, you can still have a good show. With, bad art doesn't necessarily make bad animation, if that makes any sense. And it doesn't make it a bad story.
I mean, when you look at Dragon Ball Z with some of its art style, yeah, I agree with that.
But that's what I'm saying. Is like when I was a kid, if I wanted to watch anime, I could watch Dragon Ball Z on Sunday mornings, and then eventually I had the opportunity to watch Sailor Moon afternoons after school, because that was literally the only anime that was available for anyone to watch, because you didn't have the magical internet box, you didn't have Netflix,
But
you didn't have Hulu,
You're
you
forgetting
didn't
one
have Crunchyroll.
important anime that still brought up a generation.
Oh, which one?
Pokemon, man.
But see, that was after. Well,
that
it
was
kinda,
after you. I
No,
got
actually, it
but-
did start. It was probably around the same time as Sailor.
Because
Close
I
that time.
remember.
But it was
I
like.
remember waking up and I'd see bits of Sailor Moon because I would try to wake up early because I wanted to watch Pokemon.
Yeah, and Pokemon would come on like early in the morning. And I didn't really get into it until later. I guess it was like the late 90s. Like, I didn't get into this show. I was really into the card game.
I think everyone was back then.
No. You know
Okay.
how hard it was for me to find someone to play Pokemon again? Of course, I was like 18. I was like well outside the age demographic.
Yeah, I was like 10. So
Yeah, so I'm
it was
not
a
sure if
little
I was
easier for
10.
me. Just a a little.
I'm sure if I was 10, then I would have been able to find someone actually play against. But instead, I was going to like, Books a Million. You remember Books a Million?
Oh,
Jeez.
Lord.
And they would have like morning Pokemon tournaments, and it would be like, 3 adults and 30 kids. And I just felt bad. Like, other than this one kid had like a Mewtwo deck. And it's like you can't beat those. You couldn't beat those back in the day. You just couldn't.
No. But then you look at the new stuff nowadays.
But
it's
all
just
all the rest of the kids had these like slapped together decks or whatever, and like I had an actual deck with an actual theme. I had 2 different decks. I had 2 different themes, and they would suck today, but back then they were just devious, evil.
you fell for my trap card.
It was just like one of them was built around damaging the Pokemon on the bench, because when their main Pokemon gets beat up, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna put it on my bench," and I'm like, "Whoa, there's no escape."
The next thing you're gonna say is, "I'm gonna put my Pokemon on my bench."
But stuff like it. Anyway, but the point is like, even when I lived over there with Jeremy, like if we wanted to watch anime and we couldn't find it in a video store, we'd have to get on like Kazaa and wait for 2 weeks.
What the hell is Kazaa?
Kazaa is kind of like Napster, but with more wider variety of stuff.
Huh.
It was basically illegal download. Like, I'm basically admitting to a crime, I guess.
I don't think anyone
I think
cares.
the statutes of limitations ran out on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, like my girlfriend who lived like just down that way, actually. She used our internet for, I think it was like 2 months to download an entire season of Inuyasha. There were, this thing where you could just like watch anime. You can just go to such and such site and watch whatever anime show you want to.
Yeah.
It didn't exist back then.
No, it didn't. If you did not wake up or stay awake and turn that TV on at the right time,
I had
you
so
missed it.
many anime VHSs that I had to buy like
Oh my
out
God.
of order because they never got. They would just get like some random, like the 6th VHS tape of Neon Genesis Evangelion was the first one I watched because that's what they had. And I had to piece that together out of order, and then eventually I had the whole series. Like 8 years after I started trying to get it together, and I sat down and watched the whole thing from beginning to end, and it was like so cathartic. Like I literally cried.
Lord, and they had Dragon Ball Z VHSs, and I think 3 cassette tapes was just like one little side story.
Yeah,
it was just
oh god, the VHS to the kids.
They're spoiled. They don't know the pains that we had to go through.
But so I think that's part of why you don't get cartoons like He-Man and Thundercats and X-Men and Spider-Man and Batman the Animated Series.
Superman, baby.
Forget you said that.
Nope,
but,
it happened. It's canon. It's canon.
But because like the shows that satisfy that niche are done a lot better in Japan, and now you can just watch them anytime you want to. There's the world is smaller,
I mean,
so
I understand that, and maybe I've just grown more nostalgic as I've gotten older. Maybe I've missed shows where it's like in-depth stories instead of just shenanigans.
Mm-hmm. But the newer style of animation from the United States, people do tell good stories out of it.
They do, and
As long as there's not too much network interference. That's kind of what ruins it. I think if we can go back to like regular show Adventure Time, maybe Steven Universe.
Steven Universe is a little bit of a trickier situation because as some of the rumors and whispers are led to be true, is the creator a regular show in Steven Universe, she wants to add more, basically LGBTQS. The S stands for straight, for more diversity. But she wants more of those representations.
Well, yeah, she does. She wants more representation, and like, I mean, I honestly don't mind representation as long as you don't, as long as it doesn't feel shoehorned in, like as long as it feels like part of a natural story. As long as you don't suddenly change a character who's clearly not gay or whatever to, like Iceman. All right, Iceman probably had more girlfriends than any of the other X-Men, and that is saying something because some of these people got around. I think I sat down and counted like half a dozen, which doesn't sound like that much, but for a comic book character, it's a lot.
And
Because they tend to have like one or two or maybe three, you know.
And then they flipped the switch and was like,
and then they're like, he was actually mostly gay the whole time.
It's just like,
okay.
What? And
and I don't mind it being a gay character.
We have to make.
And I also don't like it when it becomes like North Star because they made North Star gay. Well, it didn't matter because he never had. Yeah, North Star has been gay long before Iceman was.
I didn't know the Fist of the North Star was gay.
No, I mean North Star.
Oops, wrong show.
Fist of the North Star is an Iraqi character, so probably. But,
maybe.
You know.
Who you are?
But
Nani?
But no, there's a character named North Star. He was part of Alpha Flight, and then he became on the X-Men for a while, and they made him gay, and it's like, well, didn't change anything, but as soon as they made him gay, that's his entire character.
Really?
Yeah, it's like everything about him is like, and it's like that's not how it works.
No, and that's.
I mean, gay people have a personality other than, hey everybody, I'm gay. See how woke we are.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. I mean, somebody like being straight for a long time and then it turns out they're really gay all along actually does happen. In the real world, like, you know, I've been people like that where
I have a relative who is
yeah.
like that.
So I mean, that's not that unusual, but not for Bobby. It doesn't feel as natural for him, you know. So anyway, like, getting back to what I'm saying, it's like, I'm all for more representation. I like female superheroes, or whatever. But I don't like when they boil the character down. This is what's making Marvel comics so bad. It's not that they have more representation per se. It's that they boil each one of these characters down to what makes them minority. And they also take away all of the internal conflict.
Yeah.
And sometimes the external conflict too. Because like it's like they're not allowed to disagree. And if you look at like the X-Men comics from the 90s,
or even the X-Men animated series,
yeah,
that song has been stuck in our heads forever.
But if you look at the X-Men comics that I grew up with, there's a lot of representation. There's a lot of female characters, black characters, lots of Asian characters.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, as you just said, the X-Men have always been diverse.
Yeah, the X-Men.
And it's really sad that we have to look at that now.
The X-Men have always been diverse. Chris Claremont made an effort to make the relaunch of the X-Men a diverse group. Not just culturally, but nationally. I mean, people don't understand how big a deal it was for him to include, like, Colossus from the Soviet Union on this team. That was a big deal, you know. Back
it
then.
was, but it's just now, I don't know if you've been keeping up with what's been going on with the Fox and Disney conversion, but, they're saying that the X-Men is going to get a whole new name. They said they need to get a new name.
About that.
Yeah. Because they want a name that's more inclusive and diverse.
I don't know if I believe
I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like a dumb rumor. Honestly, I mean, X-Men is a brand that has persisted.
Or as they said in Dark Phoenix, you should think about calling the name X-Women.
Did they really say that in Dark
Yes.
Phoenix? I didn't even watch it.
I didn't even watch it either, but it was in the movie, and she was arguing at Charles, the guy in a wheelchair.
Oh.
And I might have to send you this video, but someone did a video of it where she's sitting there arguing at them, and she's like, "Why don't you help the groceries? I'm in a wheelchair. Why don't you go out for walks with me? I'm in a wheelchair."
Oh, anyway. No, I mean, some things like Marvel's always been very diverse. The X-Men have always been very diverse, but now it's all, no, look at how diverse we are, and then they take all of the character out of the characters.
Just look what's going on with the CW. They have ended the Arrowverse, but now we're getting Batwoman, and it just looks like just more wokeness.
Yeah.
Like the woman.
I don't understand how they don't know how cringy it is.
No, what's even more cringy is the fact that for those who read the comics or even just watch the DC animated movies that's came out in recent years, she didn't take anything from Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
She built it all herself, and Bruce Wayne saw her becoming a vigilante, and he had to make the choice. It's either time to bring her in and train her or take her down. While in the Batwoman show, I mean, she steals Bruce Wayne's Wayne Towers Batcave, steals his suit, steals his gadgets, steals his technology, and as far as I'm concerned, she stole one of his watches. Because in the latest tease, she gave some money to a homeless woman, and an officer was like, "Wouldn't do that if I were you." It encourages them. Then she takes off like a couple $100 worth watch and gives it to her, which at this point I'm convinced she took it off Bruce Wayne's desk because she stole his bat technology. It's like, ooh, this is a fancy watch.
I mean, I think a lot of people are going to skip it. But it's...
I am. And that kind of makes me sad because when Arrow first started, it was just like...
You can have diversity in any form of media. And make it feel natural. Or you can have diversity and it feels like it's diversity for diversity's sake. And I feel like when you do that, it becomes a little insulting,
And the biggest thing that I'm a little confused with when it gets on to the diverse representation. Now, I'm all down for new characters. I think almost everyone is.
Mm-hmm.
We are down for seeing new heroes, new people come in, emerge to expand on current universes. But the biggest thing I don't understand is what they're doing is they're taking well-established characters and they're just swapping their race or their gender.
And it's like it makes sense in some cases. Like Falcon becoming Captain America.
Oh,
he's been his sidekick for decades now.
It was either going to be Bucky or Falcon.
It's got to be Bucky or Falcon. And, I mean, I'm fine with it being Falcon. Whatever. That one's fine. And Jane Foster's Thor is a surprisingly good story, They put some good elements in it, like the fact she has cancer, because she had cancer before she got the hammer. And so every time she becomes Thor, then she, is better, but as soon as she puts the hammer down, like, her cancer accelerates. Because, kind of the Deadpool effect, basically.
I was going to say Thor
as
all the
Thor,
time.
As Thor, well, if she stays Thor for too long, then one day she's going to drop the hammer and she's just going to drop dead. So,
confusing then.
But basically, as long as she has that power, then her body's healing faster, but then it causes cancer to spread faster, just like the Deadpool.
Well, things that have happened in more recent years with the changing of character, like April from TMNT.
Mm-hmm.
In the new series, she's black now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's black. They just changed her for no reason. And then now there's a new Scooby-Doo series coming out. Surprise, surprise. Now we don't know if this clip art is official canon or not for the new series, but in this, Velma is a very curvy black woman with frizzy hair. And when I say she's curvy, like they made her freaking big for like no reason. Fred is Hispanic. Scooby and Shaggy look like just more stoned than usual. And Daphne, she doesn't have that pretty girl look anymore. She's just a ginger with a lot of freckles.
Okay.
And then there's been other cases to where they've just, some reason they said, hey, you know this established character? Yeah, let's change him up. Like, there's a petition
Well,
going around right now for a female Alfred and a female Joker in the new Batman movie coming up.
okay, sure. Why not?
I mean, maybe if it's the Flashpoint universe.
Maybe. I mean, I could see like female Joker almost because it's been established that there's actually like multiple Jokers.
Yeah, but
so.
here's the kicker. So the person who did the female Joker, like Arc, said she's not a villain. She's a quote unquote hero. But how she went crazy is because she got tired of the patriarchy and got tired of being told to smile. So as she wrote for a female Joker, she said now she goes around busting down big businesses and fighting the patriarchy as a female Joker.
Jeez.
And for the female Alfred, what's her name? She was in Harry Potter. She was the witch with the giant hat.
Yeah, no, I know who you're talking about.
Maggie Smith, I believe. But they're petitioning for her to be a female Alfred.
Well, just his. Well, she would be a maid because you can't be a female.
True.
Right.
Now this is 2019, hon. We gotta be more diverse. If a woman wants to be a butler, she can be a butler.
I don't know how the rules. I don't know how the rules of butler. I mean, like, you know, I've just always had a male butler and a female maid. I don't know how.
That's
How
usually
these progressive peasants live.
These freaking casuals. But that's usually the normal role. Butlers are the men, maids are the women, but they do the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this works. I mean, I know a butler buttles. That's about all I know.
I'm gonna forget you said that.
That's exactly why they're
Butler
called Butler.
Buttles.
That's why that's from that Anthony Hopkins movie where he was a butler.
Never seen it.
Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but it was pretty good. But I remember saying a butler buttles.
There's just
Oh, I'm so off. Oh, I was going through all the new Marvel characters. And
You
like
were.
the good ones and the bad ones.
but we can save that for another time where we sit down and actually discuss Marvel.
Yeah.
This one was more just entertainment.
Yeah, I want to write that one down because like there's some good and bad and ugly, and in like the new Marvel lineup, I don't think they're all bad, but the one that really makes me mad. This is a whole video on its own, but I'll just like throw it out there. It's like
Bring it.
the Totally Awesome Hulk. Is one
Oh,
that makes me mad
the Asian kid where he twisted the wrist or something.
because he was a really good character before he stole the Hulk powers. And he could have been so much better as a character. But then they were like, we need some diversity on the Hulk, so let's just give it to this guy that we, you know, he didn't have like a really good code name or anything. He's just kind of going by his name. I think he went by Prince of Power for a while. And
Prince of Power.
yeah, because that's like the title for Hercules. Because he palled around with Hercules for a while. He had a lot of adventures. I don't think they sold very good.